Hello students, welcome to the lecture series on VLSI and microelectronics. It is a subject in 7th semester BTech ECE. The course code is EC702. I am Paulus Sridhar, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. So let us start lecture number 16 of this lecture series. So our lecture number 16 of this lecture series on subject VLSI and microelectronics, it consists of 45 number of total lectures and it is a 4 credit subject. That is, it consists of 3 lectures and 1 tutorial per week. Now, we are in module 4, that is layout, design rules and fabrication steps of the ICs. So let us see what topics we are going to study in module 4. Micron and lambda design rules, stick diagram and layout, CMOS inverter, NAND and NOR, and fabrication steps of the ICs such as the wafer preparation, oxidation, photolithography, etching, diffusion, ion implantation, metallization and packaging. Then comes CMOS N-well process and overview of P-well and twin tub process. Next comes the course outcomes. The course outcomes are quite important for in case of the students overview, because after the completion of the course, that is VLSI and microelectronics, the students will be able to see that this course 6 course outcomes are fulfilled. So let us see the course outcome. The first course outcome is able to describe scale of the integration such as the SSI, MSI, LSI, VLSI, Moore's law, scaling, short channel effect, VLSI design flow, FPGA architecture, and construct gate level circuit with PLA and PAL concept. Next is able to analyze CMOS inverter voltage transfer characteristics with the parameters VIL, VOL, VOH, VOL, VTH, and based on the knowledge of digital circuit design methodologies like the CMOS, pass transistor, transmission gate, DCVSL, dynamic logic, NORA logic, able to construct schematic of the combinational sequential circuit, SRAM, DRAM using the MOSFET. Third course outcome is based on the fundamental concept of the MOS characteristics and model, able to calculate value of the resistance of the current source, MOS diode, current of the current mirror circuit, voltage of references such as the voltage divider, threshold voltage and band gap, and emulate resistance of the switch capacitor circuit, gain of the switch capacitor integrator and first order switch capacitor filter. 4 is with the help of the MOS transistor model, able to calculate the value of the parameters to design CMOS differential amplifier and two-stage op-amp. Fifth is able to describe fabrication steps of the IC and construct stick diagram and layout of the CMOS inverter and basic gates based on the lambda and the micron design rules. 6 is able to calculate gate delay, dynamic power, short circuit power and leakage power and total power consumption across the CMOS inverter circuit based on the derived expression of delay and power. So these are the 6 course outcomes. Now among this, we need to know which course outcome will be fulfilled after the completion of this particular lecture number 16. So this fifth course outcome, that is able to describe fabrication steps of the IC and construct stick diagram and layout of the CMOS inverter and basic gates based on lambda and the micron design rules. This course outcome will be fulfilled. For your better visibility and understanding that this course outcome or a part of this course outcome will be fulfilled after this lecture number 16. So it is given in red color. I hope this whole slide is clear to all of you. So let us move to the next slide. So This slide mainly is the lesson plan of this lecture number 16. So our course VLSI in Microelectronics having the course code of EC702. Now we are in module 4, that is layout design rules and fabrication steps of the ICs. Now today we are going to study the clean room, mask, then photoresist, oxidation process and diffusion process. So let us start lecture number 16. Now before starting lecture number 16, we need to have some quick recap of the previous lectures. Now, we started with the IC technology and also with the IC manufacturing processes and mainly the fabrication process of the IC. Next, we had seen the crystal growth, that is a silicon crystal growth, that is the growth of the electronic grade silicon, which is having the highest purity in the order of the parts per billion, that is ppb. Next, we have seen how to grow the crystal, that is the single crystal silicon, using the Krozowski technique, then the float zone technique and also the Bridgman technique. Mainly the Bridgman technique is used for the gallium and the germanium and the gallium arsenide single crystal. Next is we have studied about the wafer preparation, wafer characterization. In the wafer characterization, we have seen that the mobility, then the lifetime and the resistivity already we have studied in the subject solid state devices. Next, we have studied the photolithography process. We know that this process, photolithography, is the technology to create a pattern on the silicon wafer using the UV ray of light. We have seen all the processes of the photolithography. Next, the exposure techniques such as the shadow printing, contact printing, proximity printing, and projection printing, and also the comparison between different exposure systems such as the advantages and the disadvantages of each of the exposure techniques. Now we are going to start lecture number 16, that is our first topic is the clean room. Now we need to know that we need a room for this fabrication process. Now this is the clean room. Now see here, the IC fabrication requires a specially designed clean environment, which is generally called the clean room. Now see, the IC fabrication and all this, to make the CMOS devices, we need a complete environment where it is clean and it is very much pure. That's why the terms 4N pure, then 5N% pure is coming. That is, we need the silicon which is 99.9999% pure. You can see the purity extent. So we need this clean room. As the device dimension is very small, any tiny dust particle can cause disruption in the device processing. Therefore, a clean room environment is must for IC fabrication. A clean room is defined by the class 1 in the British system and another in the matrix system. So you can see the importance of the clean room. Now in the British system, a class 10 clean room indicates that there are 10 particles per cubic foot with particle diameter of 0.5 micrometer or larger. Similarly, a class M 2.544 clean room in the matrix system indicates that there is 10 to the power 2.544, that is 350 particles per cubic meter with particle diameter of 0.5 micrometer or larger. You can see the extent of the particles per in a room with the particle diameter given. This shows the importance of the clean room and how much pure the room should be. That is the clean, how much the room should be clean. Now this table shows the typical particle size and number of the different classes of the clean room. You can see class 1, 10, 100, 1000 and 10,000. And the number of particles, these are the number of particles with this diameter, these are the diameters, and the number of particles are like this. So next, I hope that this clean room concept is clear to all of you. And the importance of the clean room is also very important. And you need to understand that for IC fabrication, you need a clean room, which is having the clean environment and does not cause any disruption in the device processing. So let us move to the next slide. That is the mask. The mask is the photocopy of the layout generated at the end of the physical design step in the VLSI design flow. The layout information is transferred onto the mask using a pattern generator. The mask is made of fused silica covered with a chromium layer. So this is also very important, that the mask, that is a photocopy of the layout. I hope this mask slide is clear to all of you. Next is the very important topic is the photoresist. Now we need to know what is a photoresist and types of the photoresist. So a photoresist is a photosensitive polymer that is used to create patterns by the use of the solvents after irradiation. It is of two types: positive photoresist, also known as PPR, and negative photoresist, also known as NPR. So there are two types of photoresist, such as the positive photoresist and the negative photoresist. So let us see what is a positive photoresist and negative photoresist. Now, positive photoresist. On the exposure to light, it becomes more soluble. It consists of resin and photoactive compound dissolved in organic solvent. The unexposed regions are insoluble in the developer solution. Upon exposure, the chemical structure is changed and it becomes more soluble in the developer solution. The exposed regions are removed. Next is the negative photoresist. On exposure to light, it becomes less soluble. It consists of a chemically inert polyisopropene, rubber, and a photosensitive compound. Its disadvantage is that the exposed resist has low molecular weight, so it swells as the unexposed part is dissolved in the developer solvent. The swelling distorts the pattern features, which limits the resolution. The advantages of the negative photoresist are resistance to etching and good adhesion to the substrate. So this was in short the photoresist, which is of two types, positive and negative photoresist. Now moving to the next slide comes a also important process in IC fabrication, that is the oxidation. Now let us see what is oxidation. Silicon is the most popular semiconductor for IC fabrication because of its native oxide, that is silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide has excellent insulating properties. A very good quality oxide can be grown on the silicon substrate. SiO2 has a number of uses in the IC fabrication process. Some of its important uses are: SiO2 acts as a protecting buffer layer during device fabrication. Next is it is used for device isolation. It is used in the MOSFET devices, that is the gate oxide. That is gate oxide. That MOSFET device contains a gate oxide. So this gate oxide is made of the silicon dioxide. It is used for interconnected isolation, that is a field oxide, FOX. Can be also used using the silicon dioxide. Next, you need to know what is oxidation. Oxidation is nothing but the process of growing the silicon dioxide layer on the top of the silicon substrate. That's why we were discussing about the silicon and the silicon dioxide. Okay. I hope this slide is clear to all of you. Now let us move to the other parts of oxidation. So we need we already have told you what is oxidation. So again, let us see. Oxidation is the process of growing the silicon dioxide layer on the top of the silicon substrate. There are two types of oxidation techniques that are generally being used. First one is a thermal oxidation, that is having the excellent quality. Thermal oxidation is of two types, dry oxidation and wet oxidation. And second one is the chemical vapor deposition, which is required to put silicon dioxide on the materials other than silicon. Okay, I hope this oxidation process is clear to all of you. Now let us move forward. Now the oxidation process starts from the top surface of the silicon wafer and it slowly penetrates into the wafer. The separation line between the silicon substrate and the growth layer, that is silicon dioxide layer, is known as the silicon dioxide interference. The quality of the oxide and the silicon dioxide interface greatly influences the behavior of the MOSFET device. The layer is called the silicon dioxide or SiOx. This X means it ranges from 0 to 2 at the interface between Si and SiO2 is formed due to the unsaturated silicon bonds. These unsaturated silicon bonds are called the dangling bonds. This dangling bonds word is very important. Okay, and they behave like traps at the interface. These traps have energy states within the band gap energy of silicon, which are known as the interface states. So I hope this dangling bonds, oxidation, then types of oxidations is clear to all of you. So let us move forward to the next slide. Here is the dry oxidation and wet oxidation. So let us see what is the dry oxidation. The chemical reaction that governs the dry oxidation is expressed as silicon plus oxygen, that is Si plus O2. It gives us SiO2. The reaction takes place in the temperature range between 900 degrees centigrade to 1200 degrees centigrade. That is 900 degrees C to 1200 degrees C. So you can see the range of the temperature is very high. Next is the wet oxidation. In the wet oxidation technique, water vapor is released with the silicon layer and the chemical reaction is Si plus 2H2O. So it gives SiO2 plus 2H2. In the thermal growth process, oxygen or H2O diffuses through silicon dioxide and reacts with silicon at the interface to form more and more silicon dioxide layers. This reaction takes place in the temperature between 700 degrees C to 1100 degrees C. To form a silicon dioxide layer of thickness is always expressed as TOX of 1 micrometer. It consumes about silicon layer of thickness 0.44 micrometer. Initially, an oxide starts to grow. The grown oxide thickness TOX linearly increases with time. After a certain thickness is grown, the growth becomes parabolic. You can see this one. This is the time and this is the thickness. So it is parabolic in nature. After some time, it becomes parabolic in nature. Okay, it increases at certain rate and then that is exponentially it is increasing, but after that it becomes parabolic in nature. Okay, this is the oxide thickness as a function of temperature graph. Now I hope that dry oxidation, wet oxidation is clear to all of you. Next one is the chemical vapor deposition. Chemical vapor deposition, also known as the CVD, in short it is known as CVD, is another technique by which the silicon dioxide layer can be grown, but it does not produces high quality oxide as the thermal oxidation techniques. The oxide grown using the CVD technique is utilized for metal level isolation as a mask during the photolithography. The temperature ranges from 300 degrees C to 500 degrees C for SiH4, that is the silane, and 500 to 100 degrees C for TeOS, that is tetraethylo orthosilicate. Next is the process. The precursor gases dissociate at the wafer surface to form the silicon dioxide. No silicon on the wafer surface is consumed. Next is the film thickness is controlled by the deposition process. The chemical reactions are given as Si. This one is the SiC2H5O4 plus 2H2O at 700 degrees C. It is SiO2 plus 4C2H6O. Next reaction is SiH4 plus O2 gives SiO2 plus 2H2. This one is tetraethylosilicate and this one is the silane. Okay. In the CVD technique, thickness grows linearly with time. That is, you can see in the next diagram. So let us see the diagram. Let us draw the diagram here. The diagram is like this. This is, suppose, the thickness TOX and this is the T. Okay, this is the T. This is the time. So it is linear. The growth is linear. I hope this is clear to all of you. Now let us move to the next slide. That is the thin oxide and thick oxide. A oxide having the thickness of 20 nanometer or lesser is called the thin oxide. Thin oxide are used as gate oxide layer in the MOSFET structures. Thin oxide are grown using the dry oxidation techniques. As dry oxidation produces a very good quality oxide, but the dry oxidation process is very slow compared to the wet oxidation technique. Next is the thick oxide. An oxide having thickness 20 nanometer or more is called the thick oxide. Thick oxide are grown using the wet oxidation technique. It is fast as compared to the dry oxidation technique, but quantity or the quality of the oxide is not as good as that produced in the dry oxidation techniques. Thick oxide are used as the filled oxide, that is FOX. So I hope this thin and the thick oxide are clear to all of you. Next, we are going to start a very important topic, that is the diffusion. Now let us see what is diffusion. The introduction of the doping atoms into the semiconductor are done by two techniques. First one is the doping and second one is the ion implantation. That is the diffusion and the ion implantation. The differences between the diffusion and the ion implantation are very important for all of you in the semester exam. Diffusion is a process of displacement of the particles or atoms from higher concentration region to a lower concentration region. Using the diffusion process, dopants are introduced into the wafer. An ambient is created of the dopant atoms at the surface of the wafer and the temperature is raised to 800 degrees C to 1200 degrees C. For N-type material, arsenic and phosphorus, that is As and P, are used as dopant. As is the symbol of arsenic and P is the symbol of phosphorus. They are used as dopant, and for P-type materials, boron, B is a symbol of boron, is used as dopant. Now next is the Fick's law. This is a very important law in case of the diffusion. The basic diffusion mechanism is expressed by using the Fick's law. It is given by delta C by delta T is equal to D delta square C by delta X square. That is where D is equal to diffusion coefficient and C is the dopant concentration. So I hope this diffusion and Fick's law are clear to all of you. So we have moved to the last part of this lecture. So thank you all for being in this class. Hope to meet you soon. Thank you.